Hey there, guys. Wasn't that cute? Wasn't that cute? I found that last minute because I know the cookie one, some of you guys liked the cookie one I played last time, but I wanted to find one that was to theme, and I just randomly found that one on YouTube. So, yeah, that was cute. I like that. How are you guys doing? Thank you for joining. I just saw that we had a new member over here on this side. Thank you for joining over here, Trish. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Hey there, Aaron. Hey there, Trish. Hey there, Tommy. How you doing? Hey, Skywatcher. Hey, Sharon. Hey, P1111. Sweet Pea. Gail. Superman's grandma. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. Hey there, Wasp. Isn't it cute? I like it. I'm gonna make my own eventually, but you know, it's for now. It was cute. It's on YouTube. It's cute. I like it. Hey there, book girl. Hey, what you was? How you doing? How you doing? Hey, bad sheet. Hey, into the weeds. How are you? Hey, Rex. How you guys doing? Hey, Cajun Bayou Queen. How you doing? Hey, so we're actually gonna look at something a little bit different today. It's still the alien stuff. But I'm going to push going through the actual files to next week, maybe, because there was just a forum 3 days ago on the 25th called and I didn't see that until like literally about 30 minutes ago, called the Disclosure Forum 2026. And a whole bunch of people got together and answered questions, and media was able to ask questions, and a bunch of different things were talked about. And I kind of want to like skim through it, stop at a couple things, and kind of go over some of the stuff that they said, because I did already a couple of things and stop at a couple places, and they, there's some interesting conversations happening there. So I'm going to change the thumbnail and the title here for this one, and we're going to do technically what will be episode 3 next week, because I want to go through this stuff. It's people physically speaking on the things that are in these files and the things that are being talked about, the whistleblower situations that are going on, all the different things. There's so much of this happening right now. It's actually insane when you go to search for the UFO files and disclosure information, just exactly how much of it is going on. You don't really realize it. Hey there, V. Oakley. You don't really realize it until you start looking for it, just how much is happening. So let me give you guys like the actual website for this, because I looked this up earlier today. UFO Disclosure Forum. Yeah, this just happened like 3 days ago on the 25th. And all kinds of people got together. The thing is like 7.5 hours long or something like that. We're just going to skip through to like just stop and listen to a couple things, especially when like the media asks questions. I do want to look like I do want to listen to how like they actually answer them. Now there is a lot of spaces for some reason where the audio cuts out, because the government's gonna make something happen where you can't hear every damn thing, but there's still quite a bit being discussed in here. So let me change this real quick so I'm not lying to people that come in about what's happening here at UFO Disclosure Forum 2026. I'm going to call it a spot check review. Spot check review. And then I'll change this out. Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff going on right now in this department. A lot more than you think, apparently. Yeah, they're calling it Humanity on the Edge of Discovery. Okay, let's see how long this takes for it to update. Did I give you all the thing already? Yeah, so that's the website for it. But there's also a big, long-ass YouTube video. It is 7.5 hours long. Was this like forum that they had where they were just answering questions. And again, we're not going to watch like the whole thing. We're going to spot check it. It is freaking wild. Like all kinds of shit. Like we really thought that, like basically since the pandemic, everything has just been like rapidly just wild. And that didn't land where it was supposed to, but just rapidly wild. because it's like it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It gets just like more insane. Like new levels, new levels, new levels. It's actually crazy. It's actually crazy. Okay. Yeah, here it is right here. Did it update? It did. Okay. Okay. No, not default view. All right, so let's listen to the intro. And because I just want to hear what this guy has to say all the way through. Like I said, I like went through it and went, periodically, just stopped and listened for like a few minutes. They're talking about like interdimensional stuff. There's media people standing up and asking questions about police reports of officers, like stating that they see things. Like, are they getting those reports? How are you guys handling these law enforcement agencies and these people of authority that also have come forward with all of these sightings that normally they would be like shunned for even saying anything or looked at like they were crazy for saying anything. But now there's so many people coming forward. How are you guys handling those? I feel like this is probably going to be sort of, interesting to hear. But, just keep in mind, just because they're coming out and trying to be say truthful about some things doesn't mean that they're being completely honest about the answers that they're giving. So take everything with a grain of salt. I know. It's just because they were just there and they happened to record the whole thing. Like there's other media that's there too, but this is the first one I found that said that it was like the full thing. So I actually, you know what, let me look and see if there's maybe a different one, because there's a lot of complaining about the audio dropping out a lot, and maybe it's not like that in other places. Let me see. Okay, I think we can actually go straight to those.
And today, experts
pause. Okay, yeah. F News Nation, you can go away. Okay, this is their actual. I'm just going to go ahead and subscribe to it. This is their channel. It looks like that was created for this. Is there other stuff on her? Is there other things, or is this it? Oh, they do have other stuff on here. The Disclosure Foundation is the preeminent civil society organization dedicated to advancing the understanding of unidentified anomalous phenomena. I hate the way that they changed it, though, honestly. We unite policy, research, legal support, and public education to shape a post-disclosure future. That sounds ridiculous, especially when it comes to public education, because that's a narrative that's fed and very rarely the actual truth. Okay, so they've been putting stuff up on here for a minute, I guess. It's just not getting a lot of traction, which is interesting considering just how insane everything's been. Okay, well, up here, I guess they started to. We are not alone. Yeah, we've been knowing that, broski. We've been knowing that, broski. So did they actually stream it live? Oh, look, they sure did. So they had one a year ago. Something here 8 months ago. Okay, let's experts from this. Let me see if the comments mention anything about. It's not okay. So it wasn't News Nation. It apparently wasn't News Nation that was causing the audio, because even here on their exact one, it says the very first comment, very respectfully, if you're going to gather all these amazing folks, make sure your mics work. So it wasn't News Nation being stupid. It was them. Whoever's in charge of the mics is fired. Mics keep cutting out. Yeah. Of course the mics kept cutting out. Of course they did. Okay, well, let's go ahead and listen to the introduction, and then we'll skip around to media questions and just look for keywords and stuff like that and see what they have to say. Definitely going to be skipping through all of the muted audio. So let's see what they have to say.
Rarely occupy the same room. Physicists, historians, economists, intelligence professionals, educators, journalists, and policymakers are gathered here in this room to discuss a subject that was, until very recently, untouchable.
This is true.
So we've made astonishing progress in recent years, but we believe decisive UAP data remains hidden behind a wall of classification at the Air Force, CIA, DOE, and elsewhere. The Disclosure Foundation is vigorously seeking further breakthroughs in transparency, breakthroughs that we hope can resolve vital unanswered questions, especially concerning evidence of a non-human intelligence. Is Pentagon video and radar evidence limited to extreme performance attributes, or does the government also possess recovered off-world technology?
We know the truth.
Indeed, I referred several reputable witnesses who made such claims regarding recovered materials to the government office charged with investigating UAP.
Hey, buddy.
I also released the text of a conversation I had with a senior U.S. official describing what he claimed to have learned about a UAP recovery program. Other whistleblowers have gone to the intelligence community's Inspector General or Congress. However, denials regarding proof of non-human intelligence continue.
Yeah, which is dumb.
We know UAP satellite data exists because former Representative Ratcliffe, as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, has acknowledged this.
Oh, I just realized what you said.
Although none of that data
Phenomena. I just heard it in my head. That's freaking funny as shit.
has been released. There has been no data released regarding UAP in space, notwithstanding rigorous UAP space surveillance.
We can laugh over here and not feel bad about it. My gosh.
Similarly, we have not seen any UAP data revealed by our most powerful and advanced aerospace radar network, nor has data of submerged UAP been released. Yet despite these huge gaps in data, the volume and credibility of UAP continues to grow.
Okay, you're boring. Let's find where they're going to actually start, like, talking about me. I want to hear about the like actual stories here. Okay, so yeah, let's get to the panel. The conversations are what's interesting. Okay, so here they go. They're breaking.
And Representative Paulina Luna, welcome to the stage. No worries, no worries. No need to apologize. And Representative Subramaniam is here as well. So I'm happy if you guys would like to make quick remarks.
The captions didn't catch the actual like spelling of that guy's name, and so they're calling him Representative Superman. You saw that? That was funny.
Happy to do that. This is really your time, and then if you'd like to engage with questions from the media for the rest of this time slot, that's also great. We have until about 10 a.m. here, so this is really for you guys, and these are your awards. We announced the Disclosure Award. So these are
release stuff to distract from what's really happening in Washington. But the reality is that, ultimately we believe that if this information does exist, which it does, it belongs to the American people to decide, and really the world to decide and see what information is out there pertaining to the question of, are we alone in this universe? And so I could not have done this as the task force chair without these members, as well as Tim Burchett, Begich, Jared Moskowitz, all the other members who put their name, their credibility, their elections on the line on this topic. And because of your help, because of everyone who's really come together, and this is really a community effort, we now have some of the most historic disclosure, I think, in U.S. history.
See the mics? Oh, at least they can tell. How ridiculous. Look, see, it's the whole system.
I was very interested in why.
All right, let's find some stories
that we know we would have still
from the executive branch. What you're able to tell the public now about the cutting edge and latest developments on that front. We have all of these entities now. We have ARROW, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. We have at the DNI, we have the DIG, the Directors Initiative Group. We have the Pursue program. Historically, we've had the UAP Task Force and AIMSIG. Can you describe what is different about this moment with all of these entities?
Yeah.
I think what's different is that, again, I go back to the people that came forward. You have highly credible individuals who have made their way, through the ranks, and they're giving up so much to come forward, and you can't help but admire these men.
Admiral Byrd is a great example. I mean, we're probably going to end up doing like a whole thing, just going over the journals and all of that stuff. But people that are highly decorated used to just get like basically just discredited and thrown away if they ever came out and didn't follow the order of, you actually didn't see or hear a damn thing. Now go on about your business, because that was always the order. It's so crazy how things have changed.
And whenever you hear them talk, you sense the genuineness and the honesty in what they're saying. And so I think that bravery is what has caused this
I don't even know who she is.
The snowball. And then I think you had this magic moment where we had members of Congress who were willing to spend the time and the effort to do it. And then you had, on top of that, a president who has an attitude that is very much an outsider attitude. I mean, he came in with a distrust of government. I think the fact that they went after him for so much means he has no interest in that easy things to really left.
Documents, because
I want answers.
Can divulge that information, and let's see where it leads.
Okay, can we start divulging?
Thank you so much. And I want to point out the modesty of this man. So Representative.
Okay,
sometimes where these.
I don't like those attaboys. This is like the parts of the press conference where I want to throw up in my mouth, because I don't care about y'all's pats on the back and y'all's dumb shit. Let's get back to where I saw the media people were standing up, because I don't care about none of this. This kind of shit gets on my damn nerves. I don't care. Let's see. Okay, who are we taking the mic to?
Thank you very much.
Media guy? Okay.
Gentlemen, great to see you. So Matt Ford from the Good Trouble Show. 2 years ago, the former police chief of Ord, Nebraska, handed me over 60 pages of 911 calls from 2019 and 2020 documenting hundreds of craft, some as large as an SUV, surrounding towns, hovering over public schools and shining spotlights into ranchers' homes. Multiple law enforcement officers described close encounters with these craft as close as 50 feet that were completely silent, instantaneous acceleration. The FBI, the FAA, DHS, and AFOSI were called in to investigate and disappeared when the swarms did. This past February, the government shut down all El Paso airspace and blamed cartel drones. But a source with direct knowledge of the incident told me this was a cover story and characterized the incursion into U.S. airspace as extremely alarming, this one particular incident. From Nebraska to El Paso, the official story keeps changing.
This is true. That's why the Anunnaki theory and going through all of this stuff and digging into the Hebrew scripture and the Ethiopian Bible and the Book of Jubilee and Enoch and all that stuff is what I want to dig into here on this channel, because it all comes full circle. It all comes full circle, and it's all older than the scrolls and the things that were used for what is considered the modern day Bible. What we hear now in churches and what we see now as modern day religion is a humanized version of the truth, a greedy, power hungry version of the truth used to manipulate in order to get what they need. You're nothing but a number. You never have been anything other than a number to anyone with any power. That's just the facts. That's just the facts. You've been one of many. Nothing important, nothing significant. That's just the truth for humans. But that's why I want to dig into this, because the truth really does go this deep. And I know a lot of people want to say, and that's fine, have your opinions, but I think deeper than whatever might have created everything only created us, and there's no in between. For you to say, or for anyone to be so shallow-minded as to believe that whatever they believe is such a magnificent power, that magnificent power wouldn't have been previously capable of creating something smart enough and capable of creating us. It's kind of putting down what you worship, in my opinion. It's not too far-fetched. I just think that I think people don't want to have like any in-between between them and their God in order for them to relinquish a little bit of something that they kind of like need for their survival because it's been embedded in them. But I think there's many layers to everything. I think something incredibly smart created us. Something else might have created it, and there could be many levels of that. Who freaking knows? We don't know. But we see ourselves trying to create life all the time in computers, and now we have it in these physical beings. And then, of course, because humans are grotesque, it first gets implemented into lifelike sex dolls, because the man is the one in control of everything. And we're so not even a little bit ready to be a race that anyone needs to even be paying attention to as humans. We're so immature and Neanderthalic compared to the stories of the things that apparently created us anyway. We're very immature and very greedy. We're far from where we need to be as a society. And all of those stories, they all have a lot of history. That's why a lot of the Bible matches a lot of the Sumerian tablets. They're all true stories. They've just all been manipulated somehow. And will we ever get to the origin source? I don't think so. I think maybe we'll get close one day. I just don't know if we'll ever see in our lifetime or even in our grandchildren's lifetime the truth, because I don't think that it'll happen. It'll crumble everything. They can't let us know exactly what the truth is, because everything they've created around the lie will break. And then what will they do? It'll mean our downfall too, because that's just how the system is built. It's very much the Matrix. I just don't think that we're plugged into some building somewhere with things in our brains. It's just all gross.
And then disappearing. Congressionally, what can be done to sort of end the cycle of obfuscation from the DOD, IC, and the National Security Council?
Well, again, I haven't worked for the State Excise Police, Sheriff's Department, and Security. I do think that there's...
Yeah, his microphone's instantly shit.
Protecting our national
The Book of Genesis is very interesting by itself.
And also
for sure.
informing the public to making sure it's not them. And by them, I don't mean the Russians or China. I mean something that could be otherworldly or interdimensional.
Oh, finally. Oh, they got it together.
I think in a very real sense, having more access to these files with the appropriate members of Congress who, unlike these very brilliant folks, who won't leverage it for their own gain and in effect trivialize and minimize the hard work and passion.
We've got to start shaming these people more. I'm going to start finding them on TikTok and places, and we're just going to start shaming these people more. I mean, what else is our options? I'm sorry, but that's the zoo's fault. How the hell are they going to allow that in? Like that? Hell no, bro. Hell no. Too much. Come on. Can we get to some microphones that work?
Some of my colleagues who are jumping on the bandwagon.
This is horrible. Maybe we shouldn't even be bothering. I don't know. This is ridiculous.
How we actually get under the receipts. So that's been my focus. Hearing about reports of this.
Oh, finally, they figured it out.
Hearing the reports
like
of
3
the,
seconds.
like was just mentioned, of other sightings. We've had so many sightings.
Are we the same person? Wasp? Are we the same human? I think we're the same freaking person. Oh, that's crazy.
Of those reports, but where's the photos? And I would say, if you've got the photos, let's see them, bring them forward. If there was that many people that cited it, then we want to see the footage. We want to see the cell phone footage, right? So, but at the end of the day, when you don't have it, it's just narrative. So that's where I'm at. I'm like, we've had a lot of great hearings with some great witnesses. And at this point, I'm as frustrated with you as you are. I want to see the real stuff. What we're trying to do in my team is take actionable information and then request it. And so right now, I don't have subpoena power personally. I got frustrated trying to go through the committee and the length of time that it takes, and again, dealing with
Born and raised a Jehovah's Witness, my grandmother died with everyone around her believing she was one of the 144,000 anointed. Oh yeah, my childhood was a journey. When my parents split up at 15, we had to live with my anointed grandmother for a while. So that was real interesting. But after that, I never stepped foot back into that place. Yeah. But I also, as a child, because of my mother being the daughter of an anointed, I was never allowed to explore it. So for a long time, I was just angry at like just the thought of it, because like it's just like insane, which I'm still not like completely on board with, like this one entity type thing. I mean, I understand the concept of why a lot of people like want to believe that, and it could be the truth. I'm not open to it as much as I used to be so closed off to it. But the whole concept of God does things for a reason, all that other crazy shit. There's no reason for my daughter 10 years ago to have been diagnosed with HIV out of nowhere. And there have been all kinds of investigations and no one around us ever had it. And there's nothing on her to prove anything happened. And her entire life was flipped upside down for what was the reason? So when people always try to, I mean, at that point, I already didn't believe. So when people then try to like shove it down my throat, it just pissed me off even more. And it took me a long time to even be open, even a little, to even giving a shit. But then I started like listening to this kind of stuff, this ancient alien theory, and going back into how this stuff is so much older, and everything about this like spoke so much more to me because it seemed realistic. It seemed realistic to make sense. And there's so many comparisons, again, from the modern day Bible and all the stories to these ancient civilizations that didn't even know that each other existed. Had no freaking clue that each other existed, and they all have the same stories. The names are just different, but it's all the same concept. And then when you think about the original story of the Anunnaki and the reason why they were here and what we were created for, and you think about modern day today, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. We're still a slave race. The currency is still gold. Nothing's changed. How can you not lean more towards that being the reality when that's the life that we are currently living? When we are ants, when we are nothing but a working system to them, to profit them. You have to literally sell everything about you that makes you human in some way, shape, or form to make it out of struggle in this life. You have to sacrifice something you shouldn't have to. It's built like that for a reason. I will never, ever, ever go back to thinking that this just happened because of some big bang or some crazy shit. Now, maybe the existence of what we are on itself did, but it didn't just happen and then a few days later, here comes humans, or there's like evolution into something, maybe to a point. But there are things and events that took place along the way. If something else created this physical structure, something else created what this physical structure sits in, something else created us differently. The origin story of Earth is not the origin story of humanity. And so many people don't want to separate the two because it freaks them out. They want to instantly believe that dinosaurs existed, but to think that there's a separation that takes them, again, more degrees away from what they believe is their God. They freak out about it. They feel like they're losing themselves. It's become nothing but like a brainwashing tool. It's always been a behavioral deterrent to me, in my opinion. Because if you go back to the big origins, there's no such thing as like a burning purgatory where you relive the worst things you've ever done in your entire life and burn in eternal hellfire. That shit's not even anywhere in anything that was ever talked about in the original times of anything. And there's been just the fact that it's been manipulated so much, and they always try to say that church and government are supposed to be separate. I mean, church and state, same difference, is supposed to be separate, but we know they're all in the same bag. They literally work together. They're not separate for freaking nothing. They together hide the high-end pedophiles and the high-end murderers and the high-end weirdos doing disgusting things because they think it gives them power. Because for some reason it does. And through all of these generations of humans, that have seen all of this and complained about it every day. What's changed? Nothing. Because at the end of the day, we're just a number. Does this disclosure stuff like mean anything? Probably not. Probably not. Is it going to magically make our lives better knowing that we're not the only things out there? No. No. Nothing's going to change. We're going to continue to be poisoned, lied to, medically neglected, and used for whatever they're using us for. Nothing's going to change. It's just something to entertain us with, I think, at this point. But I'd like to know the lie. And why the lie, honestly, because I don't feel like knowing that there are other things out there besides us would change anything. But then you also have to think back to the Bible and how people are so blind and don't realize that Adam and Eve were not like the first people to walk out of anything. There wouldn't have been places for Cain to go after he killed Abel with humans and other people for him to marry and all the other things everywhere that happened all before that, and all of the different places that were talked about if they really were just like the first people to just like be anything cognitive. Which is what it wants you to believe. It wants you to think that there was literally nothing but whatever was created within 7 days by some snap of a finger. And that's not even a little bit true. Not even a little. That's why fantasies work. That's why Disney is so popular. It's fantastical. They know what they're doing. They know how the human brain works. They know exactly what people will fall for. And they know exactly the formula to use. It's worked for thousands and thousands of years.
Staff. And so my team, my office, we're just sending direct letters, interrogatives to these, whether it's MIT Lincoln Labs or MITRE, Battelle, and others that I don't want to say yet. We're sending these letters. We're sending letters to the FBI saying, and we're being very specific. We're saying,
is there multiple cameras?
We want you to investigate
so unprofessional.
the details of the Varhinia incident, right?
What is that? What is the Varhinia incident? How do you spell that? Varhinia incident? What is that? I don't think I heard him right. It says Venia, but that's not how he said it.
Or MITRE, Battelle, and others that I don't want to say yet. We're sending these letters. We're sending letters to the FBI saying, and we're being very specific. We're saying, we want you to investigate the details of the Varhinia incident, right?
Pause. Okay, so the Varhinia incident, 1996 UFO crash that shocked the Brazilian military. Let's see.
Is enough to shock.
So is this, okay, let's see what this is about, because we're not going to really know what they're talking about unless we know what they're talking about. So let's see. The Varhinia alien incident. This person says this is real. My grandfather was part of the cover-up. They came from America to Brazil. One of the 57 listed varieties of aliens, an ex-military person spoke out on another episode. Okay, let's see what this is about. It's only like 4.5 minutes. Let's see what this is.
Seeing a UFO in the sky right in front of you is enough to shock anyone to the core. But imagine coming face to face with a real alien, a creature you have never
See, I don't like the freaking AI, man. Can we get something that's not AI and still fast? Like, for real, though? It's just too much. I also don't want something like a big thing. Okay, well, this one's only 1.5 minutes, and even if it's AI, at least it'll give like a little rundown. Let's just see what the whole problem is.
On January 20th, 1996, the quiet town of Varginha in Minas Gerais, Brazil, found itself at the heart of a mystery that has puzzled the world for decades. Around 3 p.m., 3 girls, Lilian, Valkyria,
They're
and
talking about
Katja,
it at the forum.
encountered a strange creature while walking through the Jardim Ande neighborhood. This creature was described as having brown, slimy skin, with striking red
I
eyes
think I heard
and
this.
an unusual head shape, causing the girls to flee in terror. Reports quickly poured in, describing mysterious military movements in the area by nightfall. Trucks covered in tarpaulins and heightened activity stirred the curiosity and fear of locals. The very next day, a military police officer involved in the scene mysteriously fell ill, succumbing weeks later without a confirmed cause. Rumors of strange lights and unidentified aircraft haunted Varginha long after, and the government's attempt to explain away the sighting as a mistaken identity only fanned the flames of suspicion. The incident captured international attention, earning the nickname of the Brazilian Roswell. Decades later, unanswered questions linger.
I like the Wi-Fi.
Was it a misunderstanding or a concealed encounter with the unknown? In the end, Varginha was forever changed.
Okay, well, I don't know. They're talking about it at the forum. So this forum was just 3 days ago. So obviously they think that there's something to it. I have to look more into that too.
And
the media's talking
and then we're
about
saying, for example, the MIT Lincoln Labs. We are aware that there's a reel-to-reel audio that's from this date with this name.
No,
and,
I just read,
and
that's what I
demand.
mean. I just read your comment, but they're talking about this like as of 3 days ago. So I don't know. Like I'm gonna have to do my own research on it. But it's interesting that this forum is bringing it up as something that they deem important.
That you retain that file and that you provide it to Congress. And so when you get that specific, I think that's I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of these institutions don't even know what they have.
Probably.
And so, but when you all and people bring information to us, specific details and information, that helps us craft the letter, which then gives the instructions. And, I'm maybe the 435th most powerful member of Congress, but at least I am a member and can write a letter that they might just listen to. And so that's what we're trying to do right now. And I think we've made some success. I mean, MIT Lincoln Labs, it did admit that they do have that reel to reel.
This is true.
And that led us to be able to find out that there's more to that MITRE is involved with. So now our letter to MITRE contains more detailed information. So we're pulling the thread. We're seeing a softening of the soil, if you will, and we're just going to keep doing that in order to get the truth.
Okay.
Before we get to another question, can you inform the public about what I think the natural question is? What is on that reel to reel? Are you able to describe that, or is that too sensitive to discuss?
No, I can't. I don't know that it's too sensitive. I'll just give you I haven't heard it yet. So they have acknowledged that it exists and that they're in the process of getting it to us. But what my understanding is that it's and I forget the general's name. He's an Air Force general who is briefing MIT scientists about, I believe it's the event that happened in Washington, D.C. in 1952. So,
now what happened there? Okay, let's see. UFO event, Washington, D.C., did he say 52? From July 12th to the 29th in 1952, a series of unidentified flying sightings were reported in Washington, D.C., and later became known as the Washington Flap, or the invasion on Washington. Okay, here's a little 2-minute and something video. Let's see. Go to YouTube. All right, let's see what this is about. Okay, yeah, see it, but I don't like all this AI boo-boo. Let me just read it, I guess. Here's an article. Let's see. Can I read this without paying for it? Oh, they're using the same video. Over several weeks, up to a dozen unexplained objects repeatedly streaked across the skies over Washington, D.C. spotted not just by crackpots, but by radar operators, professional pilots, and other highly credible witnesses. The Air Force scrambled fighter jets, but the saucers outran them. Around the U.S., sci-fi-like headlines blared, rumors flew, and sightings soared. When President Harry Truman quietly called for answers, a representative from the Air Force's secret UFO investigation team, Project Blue Book, you literally just talked about that, was summoned to D.C. But before anyone could fully probe the incidents, the Air Force hastily convened a press conference. Okay, but what was it? Did they ever actually have anything? Monroe News Star Story. Oh, like it's an old one, yeah. Not only were unidentified objects seen on radar indicating actual substance instead of mere light, but 2 airline pilots and a newsman saw eerie lights fitting the general description of flying saucers the same night. Interesting. So all over Washington, D.C., that's crazy. All right, let's see if let's see if it says that it was proven false. Something about the autopsy. There was one witness to the event. They're trying to say that this guy was the guy who was the guy. Like, this is the guy who pretended to be the guy with the brown skin. I don't know. I'll have to look into it some more. I just find it interesting that they're talking about it at this forum 3 days ago, if this is apparently something that came out back in 2012. It says, in 1996, UFO community was reeling from the news that an extraterrestrial being that had been captured in Varginha in southwest Minas Gerais, I don't know how to say that stuff, in Brazil, spotted by 3 girls, not 1, 3. The creature was captured by the Brazilian army with assistance from the local police. The being was autopsied at a major hospital in Varginha, and it was determined to be a creature unknown to science. And then this guy says that it just never happened. That he was asked directly about his involvement or any knowledge. And this was his answer. I'm very glad to know that you have a university education, and particularly from Kaunas University of Technology. Therefore, it is easier to be quite frank. When I read an article either in magazines or in books published without the bearing of a scientific outlook, I must first know who are the authors and the reliability of their given information. Unfortunately, all of the information about the Varginha ET involving my name are the fruits of fantasy authors and do not deserve any respect from me because they are liars. In some discussions I've had with ufologists who claim to have studied the case, nothing, absolutely nothing they brought materialized that was credible. They are conjectures, inferences, perhaps even hallucinations. I never discussed this issue with students, but when asked in lectures, I have always said that I did not and never was called to do absolutely anything in this matter. So basically all he's saying is that the story about him being involved in it aren't true, which means if he wasn't involved in the situation, he can't technically say that it's not real because he wasn't there. The truth is that when one digs very deeply into the affair, it becomes clear that all the relevant testimony comes from such people as nurses and guards. So because they're nurses and guards, they're not allowed to be witnesses with any credibility. That's kind of crazy. Very common names in Brazil. So this is just like a mistaken identity thing. It has since been learned that one of the original girl witnesses to the creature has since converted to an evangelical religion and now dismisses the entire incident as youthful folly. Okay, but what about the other 2 girls? In the 1990s, Varginha was home to a deformed homeless man, Little Lewis, a local with disabilities who would often hunch up in the corners, and he was often filthy and wet. In discussion with Lieutenant Colonel Finn Holtz, it was learned that this is in fact who the police originally believed the 3 girls saw. Believed that okay. Well, this is like, I don't know. I'll have to look more into it because that's just like one article, so I don't even know. Not as good as it may have been sold. I don't know. Maybe they have documents on some stuff. It is kind of funny that it looks like a Ben 10 character. On January 20th, 1996, 3 young women claimed to have encountered a strange creature at a vacant lot in Jardim Ander. They call it the most controversial case. Probably not. Yeah, look, they do have a whole bunch of different... Damn, there's a lot of files for this. Yeah, this will be like a deep dive to go into by itself. Just to try to see how they came up to everything. And it goes back 25 years before the incidents in 1971. Damn, there's a lot of information to go through. All right, let's see what else they're talking about now. Woo!
So that would be important historical information to have.
There's a lot of people in this room who know what happened in Washington, D.C. in 1952 with this subject, which is an interesting tie-in to Beatrice Villarreal's work as well. Gentlemen, it's 10 a.m. We've reached our time. I just wanted to ask if you have any other comments, anything else that you would like to say to the audience before we close out here.
Keep pushing, keep asking. I think what the administration did and what President Trump did is very monumental.
Always with the freaking bad audio.
Don't stop. You have firepower in Congress, put us to work.
Roger that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. But they're also not done. Like, it goes on like a little bitty break type thing for like a second, and then they come back and they start answering some more questions. Like, in this next section is where they started talking about like interdimensional shit, and I was like, oh, we're gonna have to like listen to some of this, honestly. Okay, now they're gonna make it back. I think, yeah.
Adding. Can you?
Oh, it was so bad. Come on. Okay. This is where they start talking about like interdimensional stuff.
What happens night 2, night 3, night 4, based on your information, Chris?
Surprisingly,
They're gonna get to that part anyway.
When they came to brief the Congress, my understanding is they said they did not have any video of these objects, even though this had been going on for 17 days. I think it's another example of the lack of preparedness that we sometimes has come to light, as it did on 9/11, where we didn't have a plan for civilian airliners being hijacked. We're used to still thinking, and we need to grow from this standpoint, that the oceans give us this great protection and we don't have to worry so much about the homeland. Well, now we're seeing this happen. This is not a singular event. Matt Ford was talking about what happened in 2019, 2020 out west. That went on for months.
What was it?
It was crazy. I mean, we're talking swarms of unidentified objects and a mothership coming in and them going inside it and that thing taking off at lightning speed. About? So there's a lot of very intrusive activity that is unlike.
What is he talking about? I don't know what he's talking about. That's insane. Okay.
What we've seen before. After World War II, we had around a lot of our premier bases and facilities, particularly nuclear.
Yo, that's a movie stunt. That is a movie stunt. I saw his post on TikTok when he first posted, and it only had like a couple hundred views. And I don't pay attention to him after like all that stuff came out. Like, I just don't pay attention to him. But I was like, why is this popping up? Why is he all of a sudden have a TikTok page? It's all for a movie. There's like it starts with an S, whatever the name of the movie is, but it's definitely all a skit for a movie.
Nuclear ones, a lot of activity, but this is really getting more sort of in your face and more persistent in many cases. We've had some of these things fly up in front of a Navy ship and apparently shine a light right on the bridge
and chill out there for
right
half an
into
hour.
the faces of the boat. So it's like, we're here and you can't do anything about it. And so this represents a more provocative pattern than we've seen before. I can't tell you what happened day 3, day 4, except that I do know they did start to reach out for other assets. They got a plane with special sensors from the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which they deployed. They started reacting with some fighter patrols and things like that, but ultimately they were not successful.
You know, one of the things that I always come back to is, and I know this sounds trite, but it's the shrug. There's a shrug that happens where it's like, well, we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and what else do you want us to do? You were just talking about the oceans, Admiral. If something like this happens and there is a craft that is beaming a light onto the deck of one of the most powerful ships on planet Earth, where does that shrug come in? Is there a shrug, or does this go all the way to the top into this darkness where, you know, maybe there are people that are actually in the know?
Plenty of people are in the know.
Thanks, Gotti. No, well, from my experience operationally, having served on an aircraft carrier and an amphibious assault ship and other fleet command ship, that I never saw a shrug. It was always reported whenever we saw something in our airspace or water space. And actually, I'd like to turn to the ocean. You had mentioned that we have a sense of security because we have these oceans that bound us. But the reality is that we're seeing these objects in the water. And I've had submarine officers come to me and talk about objects traveling at speeds in excess of 50 knots, closing with constant bearing, decreasing range, and having them to order emergency deep maneuvers to evade. And then the objects slowed down and then trailed them for a time. And this is 3 submarine officers, very credible. So our oceans aren't as secure as we might think too. And in all those cases, though, they are reported.
There's so many stories of people seeing stuff coming straight down from the sky into the water and then watching it like basically disappear. But like it continues, like it's going into some sort of like the way that airplanes do, like some sort of runway, but underwater, and even stuff coming out. There's a lot of that off the coast of California, like a super lot of it. Super lot of it. Yeah, there's a lot of these stories that I really want to like get more into. Well, hey there, Mr. Belgic. Welcome. We love Sharon.
Reported up to higher headquarters, and you've seen
higher headquarters, though. If something like that happens, and you'd expect that to go to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I mean, that sounds like a full stop. Let's put all resources, all assets on this. And to our knowledge, that doesn't happen for some reason.
Well, no, this does happen. In fact, I have a friend who stood watch in the National Military Command Center in the Pentagon, which is the watch floor for the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of Defense, and the President. And they take reports from all the combatant commanders. And in fact, when there was that Alaska UAP following the Chinese balloon.
Bro. Were y'all not mad about the Chinese weather balloon? I was mad because our government told us that they were just fully aware that this damn thing was a Chinese weather balloon. So you don't just like maybe send out an alert to the American people and be like, hey, we're allowing China to fly their little weather balloon over the country. Don't freak out. Don't call the cops. Don't freak out and think aliens are coming. Don't chicken little this shit. It's okay. We know. Why didn't they just tell people? It would have taken 5 seconds for them to send out a mass alert to all the damn little news people that they have in their pockets, because they already do that anyway with the news that they went out there, to just let people know, hey, we're very aware, don't trip. Instead, a whole bunch of people started freaking out. Nobody knew what was going on. There were sightings all over the place, just to find out that the government was totally aware and tracking it the whole time. They like the chaos. They want you freaking out about stuff because normally they use it as a distraction for something else. I always go back in and try to figure out, okay, what else was happening? What law was getting passed? Who was about to get charged with some shit? Like, what was going on? Because why else wouldn't you just lower the temperature and let people know? Jerks as hell.
That was reported up to my buddy who was on watch. Now, all those comms are classified. So the president knows. These are reported. What's done about it is another story.
Yeah.
I oscillate as one does when you grapple with this. I oscillate between the possibility that the credibility of the people that have come forward is pretty impressive, but it does seem that there is some sort of conspiracy cover-up. I just don't know what the nature is. It's either the government knows a lot and doesn't want to share how much they know, or the government knows little and wants to cover up their ignorance. And now we live in a day and age where we're starting to see what looks like the government saying, hey, actually, we don't know.
I think the government knows more than they want us to believe that they know, but I also think they're really ignorant to what it means. Because we're just not mature enough as a race of people to really comprehend anything above us. Anything that is more than what our comprehension can fathom is usually like chastised and thrown away and just disregarded because we don't want to deal collectively. So I think they know more than they're telling us, but I think that they are not as knowledgeable as they also maybe want the conspiracy to believe that they are. If that makes sense. I think it's somewhere in the middle.
A bunch of the files you guys look for yourself, but what camps do you all fall in? Do you think that there are repositories within the government that actually fully understand the phenomena, or is this a circumstance of everybody is just out of their depth when it comes to UAP? Go ahead, Kirk.
I guess what I would like to say on this topic is from my 37 years up here in national security, and 8 years before that for a national security consulting company, is when the United States government perceives something that is potentially a threat, they don't ignore it. The national security establishment goes after problems, right? They may not do it perfectly, they may not do it successfully, but they don't just ignore stuff. That's my experience.
So do you think that they have solved the Langley issue? Do you think
that's different? The two questions. I think they have taken this very seriously over decades and studied the hell out of it. Whether they've succeeded in unraveling what it is and how it works and that sort of thing is a different question. We have reports from, insiders, a large number of people who say, progress has really not been very significant. But, you certainly have other reporting that suggests that that's not true, that there have been some really notable successes. I personally, it's just an opinion, but I think that these black triangles that fly around, I think there probably are, just from the circumstances of some of the eyewitness accounts from Eglin Air Force.
See, that's another thing too. There's probably a lot of this shit that is the responsibility of human beings with poor communication and wanting to gatekeep things based off of the name of security clearance, because people always have an ego problem. But that goes in hand with everything. Your insurance doesn't talk with your doctors. Your doctors don't talk with your pharmacists. It all has to be very, very forced. And usually you're the one who has to make sure that they're all communicating. The justice system, when it comes to departments talking between each other in order for people that have charges in other places to not continue to be able to do whatever they want to do as they travel across their bullshit, there's no communication in order to stop things from happening and progressing and keeping on going, because everyone just wants to have their own power over the information. If that would stop, if humans could let go of their power tripping ego issue, then we wouldn't be here at all in any circumstance, in any system at all, from knowing the truth to this, to healthcare, banking, school systems, education. It all wouldn't be so stupid, but we're never going to get there, I don't think.
Force Base, from Langley Air Force Base, Dylan.
It could be.
Dylan Borland was smoking a cigarette on Langley Air Force Base, and from the other side of of the fence at NASA Langley, he sees this huge black triangle rising up seemingly out of a big building there. And we have other reports from a naval officer, I think Chris knows this gentleman, who was driving to work at 5:30 in the morning right outside of Norfolk. And he's looking out his sunroof, and there's this huge black triangle flying low right above him at 50 miles an hour down the interstate, you know. So, you know, is this a UAP, an NHI that's just, you know, cruising along at dawn around Norfolk Air Force bases? I kind of doubt it, but who knows? And this is part of the problem with disclosure is we don't know enough to predict at this point all of the national security ramifications until we know what the hell the government knows or doesn't know.
Yeah.
Mark, I mean, what camp do you fall in? Does the government know a lot, or does the government know a little bit and are covering their asses here?
It's a good question. I'll maybe defer to the rest of the panel on that specific question. I want to add just a couple more elements to the Langley story and this broader narrative that we're seeing of these quote unquote drone incursions. At Langley, again, 17 nights, these objects were displaying bright flashing lights. And that's the base commander there, commander of Air Combat Command, called it close encounters at Langley because he had bright flashing lights. That's not how you do espionage or surveillance, right? That's breaking rule number one of surveillance. If this is a foreign entity. I'll add that former NORAD commander, General Glenn Van Herk, said on 60 Minutes openly that they attempted to jam these objects and failed. They couldn't get eyeballs, couldn't jam them, and yet they're operating over a key air defense facility right here off the East Coast.
Yeah.
And that's, I want to just add on the on the analytics side, we saw these bright flashing lights occurring for months off the coast of Southern California. I think that, you know, the FOIA documents show that this is going on from at least March until July of 2019. Several months,
like that.
These objects swarming these naval warships, LCS ships, right? The newest ships some of the most advanced ships in our inventory. And thanks to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, we have video footage. We have radar data from the USS Omaha incident, which is very perplexing because it shows what appears to be a spherical object. And, you know, the debunkers have put up any number of nonsense theories for that. When you actually do the analysis, it looks like a spherical object moving against the wind and going into the water. So,
okay, let's check that out now. USS Omaha. Okay.
Want to return to the encounters of July 2019.
6-minute video.
Several
Let's
naval
see what this one
warships,
is.
including the USS Omaha, are conducting exercises off the coast of California. For days, they report being tailed by drone-like objects at night. And now, at 11 p.m. on July 15th, the Omaha is about to record some of the most compelling video of the modern UFO era.
Yeah, I want to see this video. Okay, so this is from 2019. Oh, look at it.
This
it's a
week's
round
footage,
thing.
obtained by filmmaker Jeremy Corbell.
That sphere ball has been common here over the past decade or so.
Like object flying near the ship in windy and choppy conditions.
Break Omaha, pick me kid, Rocco Peralta, passability to launch Hilo ASAP. Well, it's getting close.
This is happening the same month the Green Pyramid footage was shot on board the USS Russell, another ship participating in these exercises. The Omaha is concerned enough to prepare to launch a helicopter when the object appears to dive into the ocean.
What was splashed? Mark bearing a range.
They heard it?
Unconfirmed reports say the Omaha and a nearby submarine proceeded to search the water for signs of the object, but found nothing. The crucial element in this video is the plunging into the ocean.
It looks like it. Look at that.
Transmedium.
But that was weird. It's like it bobbed. Did you see it come back up? Look at it. Watch.
Classifying this as a so-called transmedium UFO, an object that appears to plummet into the object, but found nothing. The crucial element in this video is the plunging into the ocean.
See?
Classifying this as a
And then
so-called transmedium UFO, an object that appears to possess amphibious capabilities. In other words, a USO, an unidentified submerged object.
This is a belief based on data.
Ooh, okay. Wasn't there also wasn't there also a video of like a round sphere where what like going through like Iraq or something, right? Like Iraq or Afghanistan. Let me see if I can find that one. Sphere. I'm gonna say Iraq. I think it was Iraq. Yeah. Here it is right here. And that's supposed to be real. I don't think that that's real. Is this the one? Oh, see, look, that's like tiny. Look at, oh, look at it. It's like a little drone. Ooh.
You add in the events over the UK. There are several bases in the UK in 2024. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was shut down. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, some folks might know that name, was shut down in 2024 because of drone activity. And thanks to John Greenwald.
Whose was it? I want to look it up. What was it? Who was it? No, I went too far. No.
We saw these bright flashing lights occurring for months off the coast of Southern California. I think that, you know, the FOIA documents show that this is going on from at least March until July of 2019. Several months, these objects swarming these naval warships, LCS ships, right? The newest ships in some of the most advanced ships in our inventory. And thanks to Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, we have video footage. We have radar data from the USS Omaha incident, which is very perplexing because it shows what appears to be a spherical object. And, you know, the debunkers have put up any number of nonsense theories for that. When you actually do the analysis, it looks like a spherical object moving against the wind and going into the water. So you add in the events over the UK. There are several bases in the UK in 2024. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base was shut down. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, some folks might know that name, was shut down in 2024 because of drone activity. And thanks to John Greenwald's FOIA work, we know that at least, I think they counted at least 15 to 30 objects on radar, right? These are radar hits. So we have a major problem. I'm going to, again.
That's less than 2 years ago. That's crazy. The Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Idaho, Ohio, temporarily closed its airspace on Friday after drone activity was detected in the area. Small unmanned aerial, so they just got bombarded, like swarmed with a plague of little bitty drones. Drones range in size and configuration without elaborating further, so they weren't even like uniform sizing. Or like the same real shape, I guess. The sightings are in fact of drones, but some are manned aircraft that are commonly mistaken for drones. Okay, manned means somebody's inside of it, right? Like in my brain, I'm not thinking somebody's got a freaking remote control, but I guess it could also mean remote control. Limited in its authority to take down a drone. Why can't you shoot it down or capture it with a net? Why can't you fly up next to it with a freaking helicopter or your own drone and throw like a freaking net thingy at it and capture it? What do you mean? I do know that it like towards Fort Worth, that there was something that had happened to where like if you tried to shoot a drone down that was in your yard, like you could technically get in trouble, even though that's like some make no damn sense shit. Because I'd be damned. But maybe it's because they knew that like Walmart and Amazon was going to start using like drones. People are literally getting stuff delivered to their houses from Walmart. There's like videos of the people that work for Walmart, and they're outside in these like little like landing pad things that they use, like instead of the parking spaces, now they're like little landing pad spaces. And the guy has a remote and puts in the GPS address of where it has to go, and he flies it. I don't know how Amazon's work, but for Walmart, there's like a physical guy with the remote outside, like watching it take off, making sure it gets back. It's very interesting.
If these, and you know, it's not necessarily just an if these things are happening as they are, but there is a thought experiment that has to be done. And again, not to trivialize this, but if these things do constitute something that is so far beyond the capabilities that humans have, there's an interdimensional elephant, I think, in the room, as we've seen over the last week, at least, or so, that has now been very much introduced into the mainstream conversation, even though many people have been talking about it before then. But the question is, we're here celebrating 250 years. Let's say, for the sake of this thought experiment, that 250 years ago, we were able to send back drones to fly over some of the battles that were happening between us and the British, right? And the Continental Army saw these drones up in the sky, and maybe one crashed, and they took it to George Washington. Or actually, I think in this case, we would be the British because of our military superiority. But for the sake of the analogy, they have this drone. There are sightings. Villagers have seen them. Some of the founding fathers have seen them. I cannot, in this thought experiment, ever see George Washington or anybody else that is involved in the military doing any sort of disclosure because of the ramifications that would come from that disclosure.
I believe that, honestly.
They would not know whether it was the British. They would not know what they were looking at. And some people would think it was witchcraft. And so the question is, if that is what's happening right now, what incentive does the military have in disclosing this to the public?
Yeah, I don't know.
Chris?
Yeah, I don't think the military has a strong incentive to disclose this to the public. To some degree, it's unfortunate. And when they created the classification guide for UAP, they sort of put down a blanket statement that essentially anything UAP related was going to be classified. And I think it was very short-sighted. It was the typical institutional desire to protect military secrets, which is understandable. But I think what they missed was that so much of the energy that was leading to greater support from Congress and greater funding to study the problem and take action was the result of information reaching the American people. When we look at what happened with Sputnik, for example, imagine if the intelligence agencies had kept that secret. We might not have got to the moon when we did. The military needs the public
conversation
to
for another
understand
episode.
what its challenges are and to build the support here for the funding and the requirements, et cetera. So I think the rank and file, the usual sort of routine response is don't share anything, lock everything down. And it's understandable that's the culture, but I think the seniors need to make some important exceptions to that.
And if I may push back just a little bit, and again, we're assuming, let's just assume that interdimensional abilities or even, interplanetary abilities are on the table right now. There's a question of asymmetric technology here. And when you apply that to national security, all of a sudden, the idea of full disclosure, the idea of actually this is how we think you can travel interdimensionally or any of those things opens up a whole host of issues on, well, can I teleport this into here? Can I teleport this person over
around,
here?
yeah.
Like that
Really
seems to
wonky
be
shit.
such a massive game changer to the point that it makes national security relatively moot.
They're about to shut it down.
Is that something that
They're about to shut CERN down for something. When are they doing that? When are they shutting CERN down? Oh, they're not shutting it down. They said they were going to shut it down for a while. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's in the middle of a major upgrade. So from sometime in June, which is like right now, so maybe it's already shut down a little bit. From June of 2026, and it will go on for 47 months for a high luminosity project designed to increase the number of particle collisions by a factor of 10. So they've shut it down to do upgrades on it to make it stronger. As of tomorrow is the day that CERN shuts down for 47 months for an upgrade. So be prepared for that, because who knows what the frick is going to happen,
that comes into the conversation? Are there lines that maybe should not be crossed when it comes to disclosure and national security if we are dealing with that type of technology, Tim?
Well, yeah, got in. First of all, I think that's been the incentive since past World War II for our government not to disclose, because no administration wants to admit that it's vulnerable and can't protect its citizens, and that the billions of dollars we spend for the Pentagon is potentially useless to this unknown possibly adversary. So that's true. But then there's a balance, because our public deserves to know what their taxpayer dollars are being used for, and how good our defense system is, for example, or not. And so that's the edge I think we're walking on here, and all of us in the room are advocating for. And I see Avi Loeb's here, so we have a science advisory council that's been established, and thankfully we now have the support of the administration to go and answer some of these questions.
I can't wait to see that panel and hear hopefully a little bit more about where things stand with interdimensional travel and in science right now, because unfalsibility is really anything that's unfalsifiable is something that we try to doesn't mean it's necessarily true or untrue. We just have to be careful about those conversations. And yet, when it does come and playing things out, the idea of don't understand what fire is, have never seen fire, don't even know that they can cook, they don't know about thermodynamics, they don't know about anything. And there is this technology that may be kept away from humans, which we all, I think, agree should have a right to. And yet, if that is what's behind the disclosure wall, Mark, do you think we're ever going to see that?
I think, if the efforts here in Congress bear fruition, and if I think that the critical mass that is building up in interest, especially with the presidentially directed releases that we've seen, I think it's possible that we'll break through in some respect. I can't tell you how far that will go.
How about you, Kirk? Do you think that if there is something as game-changing as we can understand it, fire, that is on the other side of disclosure, where it is some sort of breakthrough understanding of how the universe works, that it could render entire nations completely moot, there will be disclosure?
Well, this is, sorry. This gets back to the critical question of what's behind the disclosure wall. What is there? Is it the kind of technology that is that you are alluding to? But more importantly, perhaps, is it technology that is easily mastered? If it's really, really hard, look, nuclear weapons are incredibly dangerous. You could devastate the whole world. But we were able to apply it to commercial uses.
Oh, thank you for the 10 gifted memberships, Wasp. Thank you for that. Congratulations to those who became members over here today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Firmalab. That's another crazy thing. I'll have to look that one in. Firmalab. I don't even think I've heard of that before.
By the sheer difficulty of engineering a huge enterprise to mine uranium, to enrich it, to build a reactor and make plutonium, and tritium and heavy water plants. There's a lot of difficult engineering steps in practice to make something that is so dangerous. How hard is it going to be, and what are the observables? Can you control it? These are the kinds of calculations that I think the government will have to, and the public will have to wrestle with once we get on the other side and try to and get some understanding of what's going on. But look, if this is really dangerous stuff, and if it's easily proliferated or easily mastered, then you've got a problem, given the state of humanity's level of consciousness. We fight with each other, and we have lunatics in the world who will just as soon blow it up under some circumstances. So
that's true too.
These are really difficult questions, but you can't just have it bottled up and in one little place in a country and perpetuate that forever. Everybody has to share in this decision making.
Chris, I want to bring you in as the man who opened up Pandora's box.
I know, that's why I try to make the case it's going to be a good thing. But what I was going to say is that, if we think about, say, nuclear weapons and the Manhattan Project, we kept a lid on it until we mastered the technology. If we have something that's a total game changer, then probably at some point we're going to want our adversaries to know. It's not a deterrent if it's totally secret and they don't know about it. So there may be a point in time at which we want to, the country makes a decision to take that out to deter aggression against the United States. That's conceivable. So I don't know. I think they have to, if they have some technology, how developed is it?
In comments that maybe there is room.
Stories.
That's a great question. As far as with several former directors of naval intelligence, and I had a meeting with one of my buddies who just retired out of that office, 2-star admiral, and we were talking about business. But at the end of it, I brought up UAP, and he was honest with me, and he said, we still don't know what these are. So, and of course, ATIP and OSAP and the UAP task force, again, did research, did monitoring. But I think the government is still trying to come to grips, and that's what we're going to be doing, hopefully with a major R&D effort.
If I could just calibrate, because again, all of these conversations, everyone's on a different place in the spectrum of how we see this right now. But just to calibrate the table here, the big question is, do you think that there are factions of the government that truly understand the nature of what we're seeing? And I'll just yes or no all the way down. Chris?
If there are, I've not encountered them.
How about you, Happy?
Same. I don't know. I'm going to agree with the rest of the group.
Unfortunately, I think that the government knows a lot.
See, that's what I said. I think that they know a lot, but they also are not being honest about how little they know about a lot that they know. I know that probably sounds ridiculous, but I think you guys understand what I mean. I really feel like they know a shit ton more than they want us to think that they know. But they also don't want to show their asses by coming out here and pretending like they know more than they do, because they're still kind of clueless. Like, they know the shit's happening, and they know that they're lying to us. And I also feel like a lot of our technology comes from shit that they've uncovered and had their, our own scientists go in there and reverse engineer and figure out, and then it, put out here to the people. I think there's a lot of that. Maybe not as much as like the movies want you to think, but I think there is some of that. I wish they would just tell us that, because we already know that they have ships that they have taken in, some of them with biologics. They're telling us there's like 4 different DNAs out there for aliens and all this other shit. Like, why can't you just come out here and tell us now at this point? The things that are affecting the human portions of all of this. Like we already know, just tell us iPhone came from 5 galaxies away. Just tell us.
Yeah, okay. So it's probably 4-1. Because again, this is one of those things that
I agree with Kirk. I think the government knows a lot.
Yeah.
But
the true nature
do they have a deep understanding of where this is from, what the values might be, the culture, the origin, all of those kind of things? Not as far as I know.
I think they definitely
Yeah, and I can say this too, based on Kirk, and that, and I'm sure that it's siloed like everything else in the government. And a good example is this. Sam Gerbis is in the room. He's done some research, and he's pulled out, I believe, verification that there's an entity called the National Underwater Reconnaissance Office. And Bobby Ray Inman, Director of National Intelligence, spoke about it. Here I was, the oceanographer of the Navy, the head oceanographer of the Navy, and high clearances, TSSCI compartmented programs, and I was never read into that. So you have that kind of siloing, and I would probably help that office quite a bit with our data and knowledge. So there's the siloing that exists in the government, it's continually an effort for administrations to try to break those down.
it was so interesting to hear. I think it was Representative Burleson
Yeah, if they keep everything separated, then the truth is harder to come by.
Who said, there is, we forgot how to do this, or we forgot how to do that. And when you look back at the phenomenon, it seems to go back to the 1940s, 1950s. There are allegations.
See, like where stuff just like boomed. Wasn't that like the 50s is like when shit just like went crazy with technology? I know for a fact some sort of Paul-like little creature. You know that movie Paul? I feel like there's a lot of truth to like the basis of the Paul story, not like the whole like going back and seeing the girl that saved his life stuff, but the stuff he talks about like being underground and like giving all the knowledge and like just telling them things and blah, blah, blah. Like they're getting stuff from somewhere. And I think that the 50s is definitely a big boom type situation where they definitely were taking information from something other than what we are here.
That private contractors have come in, and that would also help explain why it seems as though there are many in the government that have no idea about any of this and are very dismissive. In terms of active funding, though, for those things, they have to have an SAP. They have to have some sort of access to either private capital or access to our tax dollars. How does the SAP process work when it comes to protecting our national secrets and when it comes to protecting things that, have been overlooked for decades and decades and decades? Chris?
Literally.
We actually have, it varies by agency and department, but we do have a very extensive system in the Defense Department for bringing all the SAPs together in one place under one committee. They're all reviewed, they're reported to Congress. I sat on that committee. I never saw anything related to UAP. It doesn't mean there aren't things outside of that. There are things called alternative compensatory.
You want to know a funny story? So a long time ago, my dad and his ex-wife went up to Roswell. We didn't know. I didn't know that they were even on vacation or anything. My dad sends me a picture of him outside the comic book store area in the Paul movie, right as we as in me and Ariel and Slade and Dawn are watching the freaking Paul movie at that exact timing in the movie where they're like walking out of that spot and they're in that little downtown spot. And he just randomly sends me a picture with him physically right there. That shit happened. That was freaking crazy. That was wild as hell.
Control mechanisms.
I love that movie.
There are other workarounds that sometimes people put into effect, or some people may just not be compliant and not register their program with the SAP oversight system. But we actually have a pretty robust active system for accounting for all these things.
It's kind of like 15-year-old humor comedy, but they're grown-ass men that are besties that love UFOs from Britain that are over here, and they're road tripping in a little RV to go on their little Roswell alien road trip to get this comic book writer or this book writer. It's kind of like a nerd movie, but it is like one of the best movies. We watch it a lot, actually. It's never lost its luster. I love Paul. Definitely recommend watching it, especially if you want something to make you laugh. Paul's definitely it. You should watch it.
Monitor them. I will also tell you that people who think the government can't keep a secret are absolutely wrong. The government keeps hundreds of these SAP programs, and in my experience, not a single one of them leaked, except for one that we used in combat, which was there for exposed to the press.
That is a really creepy part. Yeah, that's a section. Yeah, definitely. I recommend it. I recommend watching it. I might even watch it at some point over the next few days, just because I'm being reminded.
And got in Newsweek and whatever. But all those other programs remain completely under lock and key, completely unknown. And they were not things that the public would have a problem with. They were mostly just very technical things, like, how do you make a tank armor tougher? Or how do you make a missile warhead more effective? It's that kind of stuff.
Upgrade.
So it's not really even very press worthy necessarily, but it's stuff you don't want your adversaries to know.
Some sort of crash retrieval program or some sort of, you're talking the amount of money you would have to hide for something like that to exist.
One of the stories is they gave up trying to redo one of the main sources that we had initially on crash retrieval was that they closed the program down because they were making no headway and they were spending a lot of money.
Tell me more. Tell me everything about this.
Well, there's some other people in the room.
See, I don't even believe that, because they've already told us, like, for 1,000 years now. Okay, maybe not that long, but they've already told us that they've retrieved crashes already. So to be like, oh, it wasn't making any headway, bullshit. There's stories everywhere. We know what the government does. They put in a bunch of bullshit into these massive bills that get put in, and y'all just throw money all over the place for shit that's not even really what we're being told. So this is the kind of ignorance that I'm talking about. Like, they might be up here and wanting to be say honest about disclosure and what things are or aren't, but don't sit here and insult our intelligence by pretending like these things are not being funneled through. Because they definitely are. There's thousands of underground bunkers that are doing testings on all kinds of things that we as taxpayers pay for. And some of these are in other countries. They're just United States property. And all kind of shit goes down in there. So don't sit here and try to tell me that y'all aren't funding this stuff. Y'all are full of shit. Full of shit.
Here that they could speak to that as well. But that's my and then they some other folks tried to make a deal to get them to bring some of that out of as they were closing the program down, to take another stab at trying to understand the technology. That's only one narrative. There are competing narratives, but that was one of the original narratives. That one of the people that I first brought to the Hill to raise this issue back in 2019, that was the story that was given.
If, and again, this is all, for me at least, a thought experiment, a very important thought experiment that we should all participate in. But if the government is or was ever in possession of off-world or non-human craft.
Who's the dude, the bald, tall guy that's been whistleblowing or whatever? Like, there's already been people with different decorations of government come out and admit that they have crash material that includes like biologics, that they literally have this already. So this is a weird conversation to me. These what ifs coming out of this guy's face. It just seems very like you already know you're not supposed to be pretending. So what's with the what ifs? I don't like the what ifs.
Biologics, whatever the case may be. Again, we go back to there is fire that we are not privy to. There is something that is so far beyond, anything we can do with our civilization that would change literally everything.
Yeah, that guy.
If that's the case,
David Rush.
I know the public polling suggests that people want to know, but if that's the case, do you think that we are ready for that type of disclosure?
I do. I think that's what our polling data is telling us. And by the way, I think in terms of the international impact, I don't think you have to have aggression, lethality, or hostility. I think the mere fact that there is a more powerful actor operating in our seas and in our skies, even if nothing changed from the way it is today, that would globally raise all kinds of concerns, and I think that would affect all of the major countries, and I think they would probably come together to talk about it. What do you know? What are you seeing? How can we work together on this?
Unless
What's the problem? Why can't y'all all come together and talk about it? Like, what is so bad about us getting confirmation on what we, the majority anyway, already believe to be true? At least it would validate a lot of people that have been pushed aside as being crazy by allowing their truth to be known to be factual. Like, I just don't get it. I mean, I know what their reasoning is, but to me, thinking like to myself, I think this is this is ignorant. But there's also the stating like a person is smart, but people are stupid. So yes, with the masses, I can see maybe what their hesitance would be. But again, to me, it's just a big control factor. I think that's the main reason behind all of this is control.
Posed a threat to power.
If it was really confirmed that there is a non-human intelligence operating craft in our atmosphere, I think that would be immediately of immense concern to every major power.
Kirk, I want to bring you in here because, again, if that is disclosed, like the one thing that would be very vulnerable is power as humans understand it. Vulnerable. Yeah. All of a sudden, the idea of rulers or democracy or those types of things, you open up that door and there are a lot of questions about how we want to be led. Do you think that, same question, do you think that if that is the case, if we're assuming that the crash retrieval allegations are real and that the United States has possibly been in possession of non-human biologics, do you think that the power structures on Earth are ready for that type of disclosure?
I don't think I really have a strong view about that, but I will say that.
But isn't the whole point, like when you become a leader, like you get told all this shit? So if all the presidents and all the leaders across the country are already aware, then that tells you right there that they're just worried about what power they, as the rulers, will lose once the truth is out that they're not as powerful as they led everyone to believe. That's all that is. That's all I keep hearing.
It's, bad news doesn't get better over time. And, people have to buckle up and face it. And I think governments have to do that.
Yeah,
so
I think so too.
That's the reality.
Man up.
If that's the reality that we're facing, we're going to have to learn to deal with it. So I don't think I'm anticipating the next question is, well, if we're not ready, should we just put a lid on it? And I end up thinking, no, you shouldn't put a lid on it and pretend that you're not noticing this. But I will say this, if we are being visited by non-human intelligent beings, whether interdimensional or intergalactic or whatever, they've probably been here a long time. And I think historically there's some evidence to make us think that they have been coming here a long time. If they're that much superior to us, if they meant to be really aggressive, I think we'd have figured that out by now. So
see, that's the other thing too. Like every single time we do hear people talking about what they see, what they've encountered, what they've witnessed, even with things like the aerial schools where they claim that the creatures like came out of the ships, and where there's been other encounters where people are not just again seeing ships, but like the physical beings that are accompanying these ships. It's never aggressive. Even the people apparently that have like their like abduction things where they claim that they've been like taken up or whatever, like it seems more experimental than ever aggressive. None of them really ever come back with like these horror stories of this torture and all this crazy stuff. It's usually I was up there. They showed me around a little bit. I think they probably poked and prodded me a bit, and then I woke up in my bed. Like, it's never anything hostile. Never anything hostile. So that is something that I've always thought about. Like, even with all of the different types of ships, water, air, doesn't matter, all the different times, generations and decades that have passed through, we've never been attacked. Not even a base has been attacked. Not even like, I mean, honestly, some of these missing people have probably been taken by these creatures, whatever they are, doing whatever they are, experimenting on people, who knows? Maybe that's where the stuff with Hollywood really comes from, because these people are really more like in control of things. And maybe there's more to like the lizard people thing. I mean, every one of these things all have a base somewhere. It's just trying to dig through all the bullshit to get to the truth, to find where it all came from. But there's definitely some shit going on here that's beyond the human control. We've seen it. We've all felt it. We've dealt with it for a long time now. Because that's what it's always felt like. Like something else has got to be doing something behind the scenes here, because what human can sit here and cognitively think that any of the shit that's going on today is just even a little okay? It has to be some sort of beyond foreign thinking. But what's the reasoning is the thing. They're getting something from it. They're getting something from all of it.
You know, I think that's a data point to suggest that that this will that there's a benign aspect or something that is keeping these beings from taking over the place. You know, either they're not interested or they're beyond that. It's like, you know, it's just not something that they engage in, or something has kept us safe. So I have some hope that that we will rise to the occasion and recognize you know, superior technology and so on. So I am hopeful that we can deal with it, but if not, that's not a reason not to face it.
We live in such an interesting time. Today is a day that, I could truly say this. There's one person that could change all of this, like right now, right? And he's just down the street, and he has seemed to have an interest in all of this. And yet we don't see that. We see, you know, him definitely toying with the topic. But do you think that President Trump is read in on the true nature of what UAP represents, or all of the dealings that the United States government has historically had with the phenomenon?
Well, I can address that partially. So President Trump personally, I don't know, but when he came in office, I met with some of his appointees in the Office of Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering, I think, and Development, and they were committed to look under the hood and gain control with political appointees of the
alien politics. Right. I honestly, I just don't care about the politics. No matter who the president is right now, I don't honestly give two shits about the politics of this, because the politics of this is why we've gotten this far, of the bullshit. I don't care about the politics. I want to hear stories about things that actually like are mattering here. Are the media going to answer any more questions? I mean, I really want to like hear more things about what's going on and paperwork and things that they're going to be releasing. $80 years of suppression. Yeah, we know it's been ridiculous. Okay, here we go. They're talking about abductions right here. Okay, let's see what they're talking about with abductions. I would like to go through some abduction stories and compare some of them to like the government sightings that they've taken seriously, because you have to wonder, like, if they're in the area and they're being seen and they're being looked at and they're being watched by us because they're in the area, what are they here for? So is there missing people's cases? Is there abduction cases where the people came back, or people literally just like vanished out of thin air and there's no answers for it around those times? Because I'm pretty sure you're going to see plenty of correlations. I really feel like you definitely would.
Without the government. I would also say that people have brought up here today, the people who have encountered non-human intelligent beings, either been abducted or close encounters, and they have a lot of information.
Okay.
They've been marginalized and ridiculed for decade upon decade, but they are a repository,
literally,
of
ridiculed
of, knowledge about the nature of these beings and how they communicate, what they've communicated, why they say they're here, why they say that they're behaving the way they do. So I think there is a great untapped potential for the private sector to pitch in and solve this problem.
And yet with something...
Where you at, Elon? Where you at, Elon? Can we stop talking about trying to get to the moon and taking off to places where we're really never ever going to go and start concentrating on like what's happening here? You know, Mr. Moneybags over there, can you actually start doing something that we give a shit about? No one cares about your Teslas. They're freaking death traps. You can't even put the fucking flames out. You're just going to die eventually because people are so ignorant. I watched this video that gave me a whole massive panic attack. It's an idiot dude on his way to church on a big old Sunday, got his Bible in his lap, his wife's next to him in the passenger seat, Bible in her lap, the kids are in the back, 2 kids, no seat belts, Bible's open, on the way to church, pouring down, storming rain outside, and the guy is on a freaking highway, and his car is driving them hands-free on autopilot in a Tesla at like 75, 80 miles an hour in a storm. You got to be out of your damn mind to trust technology like that. I'm sorry. I lost my shit. I felt all kinds of anxiety, the pricklies, all kinds of stuff. Like, you've got to be so ignorant. And it wasn't a paid advertisement. It was Amanda showing off his shit. You crazy as hell. Nope. Crazy as hell. Legit.
And yet with something like that, it comes the question of filter, applying any sort of filter. For myself, I mean, I've had an experience that doesn't pass the unfalsifiable threshold there, where it's like, okay, I just, I don't know. But when you're dealing with that at scale, how do you apply any filter to try to suss out the signal from the noise? Merrick?
That's the $1 million question from an analytic perspective. And I just want to go back to kind of the discussion just now and kind of bring this all together. And I think with the latest batch of releases that we've gotten from the White House and the government, some of you might be familiar with a series of incidents in 2023 occurring at a series of test ranges out west, where over the course of several nights, 6 law enforcement officers observed fiery reddish orbs, these spheres.
We went over this one. This sounds like the one that we went over. I think in our first episode. It could have been it could have been the last one that we did, which is just episode number 2. But I think we've already gone through these. These are like the very beginning of the files.
Forward to late last year, 2025, and you had quite literally senior intelligence officials flying around in a helicopter, literally hunting UFOs. They had received word, intel, radar tracks, that there was anomalous activity at another range out west. I don't know what that is, Tonopah, China Lake, you can go up and down the list, but apparently this is around one of these sensitive facilities, and they're in this helicopter flying around, and all of a sudden you see these 4 or 6 observers, pilots in this helicopter, see these bright reddish orange orbs right above the rotor blades, lighting up apparently in a T-shaped formation.
Oh, this is a little different, I think.
They move on, they get some more radar tracks, and they ultimately see they're got their night vision goggles on, and they know that fighter jets are operating in the area, and they see these bright reddish orange orbs directly above these fighter jets, flaring up and then flaring down. And oh, by the way, the government has released 32, I think, images, infrared images from that second series of events, that helicopter, that helo series. And guess what? You can see a round object, black hot, very black compared to its surroundings, and it's a desert. It's a desert background, so it's not a Starlink flare for our, for our skeptic friends out there.
So many people, even today, with as common as seeing the Starlink satellites are in the sky, so many people today still freak out when they see it and post it all over social media, freaking out, thinking that it's aliens. It's just funny. I mean, I know that not everybody like gets wind of things quickly, but it's been a couple of years now. And people still like overly freak out when they see the damn Starlink satellites. It's funny.
And oh, by the way, this is the Foo Fighter phenomenon. This goes back to 1945, where
that we did read about in the last
find this
episode.
Truly fascinating. The oldest documents in these releases, 1944, 45, describe precisely the same phenomenon, the same morphology as the most perplexing.
Yeah, so that's why it sounds familiar. That makes sense.
Recent incidents. So I think that from an analytic perspective, I see that as a form of soft disclosure. The government is saying, we have this one morphology that we are seeing consistently operating in clearly intelligently controlled ways. That is out there, folks. Anybody can go on war.gov/UFO and look at this. This is happening live. Again, this is only people in the weeds kind of connect these dots, but we're here. This is happening right now. So I probably didn't answer your question, but I did need to highlight that incredible series of events that, we see consistently. And I'll just add quickly, I'm one of the weirdos who's gone in and read the raw case reports from Project Blue Book over the years. And guess what?
Are we weirdos because we're going in and reading the actual files? That's fine. I'd like to get the case files for Project Blue Book and go over all of those, like, actually in depth. That'd be pretty nice, actually. We probably should do that if we can.
But reddish, fiery orbs are ubiquitous in these reports. And I can point to several instances in the 1952 Washington, D.C. flyovers where people saw reddish, orange orbs, Foo Fighters flying over D.C. So this is it. This is happening live, and I think this is a form of soft disclosure.
Go ahead, Admiral.
Right. And to go back to your question, though, about how do you filter the signal from the noise, scientific standards is the answer. And so if we get not only private citizen scientists, which I think Kirk was alluding to, but academic institutions to mainstream this is a problem. The government relies on all sorts of academic institutions and labs, and getting them to accept and institutionalize the research of UAP is going to increase our understanding and also make it more palatable for the public. And that is a movement that's occurring right now. You have it at Harvard. You have University of Albany just got funded to study UAP. You have the Soul Foundation at Stanford University, and there are others. And so it's happening. It's growing.
Finally,
I think one of the incredible telling things is that those videos have been watched now over 1 billion times. Right? It's incredible.
Everyone's interested.
Incredible the amount of public interest in this topic.
That should tell the government right then and there that they just need to come on. Like, just write a 10-minute speech and get on a live stream and just tell us the top 5 things that we need to know just to know that we've been right. And then, let it all come out after the fact. Just get it over with. Rip the Band-Aid off. I don't understand the slow shit.
Globally. So I find that very encouraging.
And yet, when I watch those videos like a hawk, I am looking for certain characteristics, and some of them come close, and yet that smoking gun eludes us. And if you've covered this for as long as I have, or you've been dealing with this for as long as you have, there are always rumors about things that could allegedly settle this once and for all immediately. Yeah. Right outside of these doors.
Yes, because it literally is so easy. That's another problem that everybody always just throws off to the side, is that everything has been so overly complicated, because that's the only way they can get away with hiding all the dumb shit, is by making it overly complicated. It's not that complicated. You've got the reports. You've got people coming out and talking. You've got things that you're telling us that we've been right about. It's not complicated. This could be alleviated just like this. It really could. For them to pretend like it couldn't is actually stupid.
We have such and such, or we're going to airdrop this video to everybody right now. And from here on out, we don't have to talk about whether or not this is happening anymore.
Because it is happening.
Are those things real?
There's no if anymore.
How close are we to actually seeing things emerging from the ocean, or things from 50 feet away from a cockpit, or things with high fidelity, physical evidence that could just put this to bed today?
One thing I can say is that we've helped to Representative Burleson compile lists of specific videos, some of which some of us have seen in a classified setting. They're not necessarily going to be the perfect Hollywood quality video, but I think they're better than what's been.
And tell me why, sir. Tell me why some Hollywood pedo has better camera technology than the world government. It should be high clarity. It should be high quality. It should be in better quality than I rent a movie off of Prime. That's another thing I'm so sick of. How come when it comes to missing people, CCTV security footage, and shit like this, it's so grainy you can't make out the sky from the sea, but then we have iPhone cameras that can literally see all the cracks in the moon? It's because they're full of shit. That's why. It's because they're full of shit.
Released and more informative and could help move the needle. Of course, many of them I haven't seen myself, so I don't know.
Many of them you haven't seen, but have you seen?
I have seen some that would, I think, move the needle. And
move the needle or like break it?
I think it would be not necessarily. The skeptics are going to be resisting anything up to the point of the president coming out and making an announcement. I don't think it is going to settle the issue.
You think that would settle it for them?
But I think it would. I think there's certainly video that would help move it further, much further in the direction.
If you aren't convinced that what you have seen, and this is like the 2-hour mark, so we're done for the day. If you are not convinced that what you have seen could literally move the needle, break it over, then what are you out here talking at this forum for? Like, see, that's another thing. Like, I'm hearing a lot of hesitation. I'm hearing a lot of, yeah, but maybe. And like, what are you even here for? If you're still on that side of not wanting to be completely honest, or wanting to baby everything or downplay what you've seen because you don't want to just be like, oh yeah, break everything wide open. If you yourself can't even make that decision to where you think it's important enough, I just don't understand what you're out here for then, if you don't think it's enough to do anything with. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. But yeah. Next Sunday, we'll continue going through the documents. I thought that was going to be more entertaining. I mean, I might skim through, maybe listen to some of it in the background throughout the week and see if there's anything that jumps out that's more entertaining. At least when it comes to like something concrete, something that they're telling us actually happened, things that they've looked into for real, not this, oh, maybe, I don't know, the skeptics. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want to hear none of that. So I'll look through it, listen to it. I don't know, but definitely we're going to go back over documents starting back on Sunday. As for the other channel, I have just went in and set up us going in tonight at around 8:15 to listen to Mason Barstow's interview in the Idaho 4 case. Mason Barstow is someone who was dating Kaylee, but not really. They sort of like broke stuff off by the time that she passed away, but also had dated Xana in the past. His interview is pretty long, so we're going to go through that one tonight. And yeah, it should be interesting because you guys were telling me some crazy shit that he was talking about in that interview in our live yesterday. So that'll be interesting. But that's it. You guys have a great Sunday. I'll be back again next week so we can start going through more of the files, probably around the same time. I pushed this one back an hour, but I think I'm going to keep it to like 10:15 from now on. I think that's probably where I'm going to settle. I just was trying to figure out like the best time. I guess that's probably it. Yeah, I think that's probably it. But I appreciate you guys coming in here again. And thank you for joining, Trish. And thank you for the 10 gifted memberships, Wasp. I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for spending some time in here with me. I will see you guys later. Have a great, great Sunday. I don't have a little intro on this channel or an outro. So I'm literally just going to hop down and this is going to end abruptly, which is what you're not used to. So see y'all.